All right, there we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Foster Parents Tool Talk Show for foster adoptive parents. And I'm really excited today because we are going to be talking about how to help children who have a trauma history avoid delays in their emotional development. And so our topic today is why kids with trauma can't just, quote, let it go. I know I often hear, whenever something traumatic happens, oh, come on, get over it. Just let it go. Don't let it bother you, all those kinds of things. So how about if we kind of pick up where we left? Well, first of all, I'll give you a chance to kind of say hello. Anything else that maybe you want to add to your bio that might relate specifically to maybe your experience in working with either children of trauma or even adults, because adults are grown-up children with trauma. So anything that kind of relates to the fact that we're going to take a special emphasis on trauma in this particular conversation. And then why don't you go ahead and do that, and then we'll kind of dive into some of our discussion.
Okay, so right now I'm mostly a parent educator and relationship educator, but in the past, within the last few years, I've worked at places where they do therapy and things like that, and I do groups with kids, teenagers especially, like 7th through 12th grade, and so that's been really fun and quite an eye-opening experience. And then some of the groups that I work with right now are in halfway houses, and so I'm getting a lot of experience with past trauma.
Yeah, and seeing how that affects kids and as they head into their teen years and into their adult years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, and one thing with the 7th to 12th graders, all of these kids that I'm working with have been kicked out of their regular school program, so they go to like a safe school. So those are the kids that I'm working with. So it's really interesting. A lot of these kids don't have parents involved, and it's interesting to hear their stories for sure.
Yeah. And you can't help wondering, boy, if someone had found out sooner or intervened sooner, where these kids might be. So, and the foster parents and adoptive parents who are joining us on our call today, they're going to probably have kids from all ages of the age spectrum. So a lot of what we're going to be talking about is kind of more focused on the trauma piece of it, but then we're going to be taking a look at how that manifests. And so obviously the older the child, the more some of these things we're talking about you might see. And then we're also going to give you some suggestions later on towards the end of the show today for some resources that you might be able to check out, some things you might be able to do to help. Obviously, when trauma is involved, a lot of these kids are going to be involved in therapy. That's not your job as the foster parent. We gave you some suggestions last time for when your kids need that person to talk to or even maybe confide trauma stories to you. Heather shared with us Gottman's steps for emotional coaching. All right, so let's go ahead then, Heather, and go ahead and kind of start talking about how does trauma affect emotional development? We talked about typical emotional development before, what that looks like, what you need to do that. How does trauma affect emotional development?